In the past, I've described the US House as the Jerry Springer show. Today, I'm apologizing to the Jerry Springer show. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded by saying, quote, "I understand you likely would not have stood up for your colleague and seem to be confused about racism and misogyny being a both sides issue, but I stand up to bullies instead of becoming one." Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez seems to be suggesting that you're a bully.
Oh, well, of course, that's absurd. I was just simply responding to the kind of chaos and everything that Representative Greene started as well. And if everyone on the committee was proud of what they've produced, they're entitled to their opinion. Or if they feel that this is the kind of a video that you want to send to a classroom of 8th grade civics kind of students across America, again, that's their choice.
Yeah, and he goes on and on about what he would rather we focus on, and he's talking about Hamas, and he's talking about all this stuff, and he just keeps going on and on. And I would have loved to have seen Jake Tapper cut in, since you're literally talking about her accusation that he's a bully. Jake Tapper, who obviously pays attention to politics, maybe he could acknowledge what that's referencing. It's not a vague slur against Fetterman. It's a reference to him being incredibly disrespectful to a young environmental activist that used to support him and is now worried about the fact that he's done a complete 180 on energy policy and pipelines. But of course, you can't be rude to the guy. He's right there, Jake Tapper. But anyway, sort of makes AOC's point. So just pretend that it doesn't exist. It's not there. So we'll get to her response to all of that. But what do you think, Francesca?
I just think like Fetterman is such a massive disappointment. Of course he would play this angle, right? He can't be trusted. He's gonna, I think about like an 8th grader. You know what 8th graders are doing? They're looking at the amount of weapons and money that the United States is giving to Israel. They're seeing dead babies and family members and civilians being shot and killed on their timelines and their feeds. And they're like, what the hell? Can we turn this around? What is going on? And then you've got John Fetterman freaking out about Hamas still, as if this is some kind of a war still, if it ever was an actual war. Israel has violated all the conventions of war. So they're looking at someone like John Fetterman, who is bought and sold by the Israeli lobby, and going, man, he seems cool because he's got like a hoodie on, but I guess it's kind of that the hoodie is more like a Zuckerberg hoodie, like a Bezos hoodie, you know? And he is selling out the American people, and he is selling out our morals and our values.
Yeah, you made me think of something. I'm gonna wait until we talk a little bit later on the show about Gaza, but I just wanna give you a little bit of what AOC has said in response to this. So first of all, the first response comes in the form of a retweet, which I love. But after this, so she retweets Leah Greenberger, said all of this, but also, if I was mostly famous for my insistence on wearing gym shorts to formal events, I'd probably take a beat before going decorum police on the women of color in my caucus, which is very clever. And I like that AOC acknowledged it. But she goes on to explain substantively what this fight is about and why it's worth waging, beyond just, hey, let's clap back or whatever. I know a lot of people enjoy it on that level, and that's fine, but that's not why AOC thinks it was necessary to engage in this. And that's why she doesn't like that that's what Fetterman is sort of reducing it to. But she says, here's the problem with both sides in the chaos that was the Republican oversight hearing. Republicans voted in committee to allow the rhetoric that was used against Ms. Crockett last night. That's what Crockett was actually responding to. It wasn't just to Marge, it was to James Comer and the leadership being like, no, that's cool, we're not gonna do anything about it. She says, notice that when Dems have the majority, these things don't happen. It also gets worse. You see, this is a microcosm of what authoritarians do on a larger scale. ID a vulnerable person or community that's easier to break the rules towards, normalize it, often with both sides rhetoric, and then use that rule breaking to undermine deeper processes and rule of law. That's why this stuff isn't just an all sides chaos or mere distraction or a pox on everyone's house. They want you to think this was some random devolution of conduct instead of a structured GOP outcome. We must understand who and what actions created the situation. It matters. Yeah, the situation that created that fight, but also the situation that created Marjorie Greene being an elected congresswoman. And so I agree with Congressman Ocasio-Cortez there. Any final thoughts, Francesca?
Yeah, I think this shows that younger Democrats, progressive Democrats are not going to take the MAGA movement lying down, that they actually have what it takes beyond, more than Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi to defeat this. That's what people want to see. And the both sidesism, she's absolutely right. And that tweet about what you're wearing, it's funny, let him wear a sweatshirt. What if it was Jasmine Crocker that wore a sweatshirt? What if it were AOC who wore a big hoodie to work every single day as a US congressperson? Can you imagine the freak out, right? So again, it should not be lost, and it certainly isn't lost every single day, as these folks have to go to work with people who are actively stoking, their base against them, who are bringing pornography into these hearings, who've spent months on this like baseless impeachment hearing that went absolutely nowhere, that they're facing no accountability for. Their guy turned out to be a Russian spy, and it's like, oh, we're just gonna move on, doopy-doo. And then you have simple things. So sometimes it's those small things. It's that racist comment. It's the fact that Fetterman is wearing a sweatshirt in Congress and gets away with it because he's a big white guy. Like, there's just those little things that really bring it out, because it is more structural. And I think, to AOC's credit, it is deeper and it is more emblematic of that chaos that is allowed to fester on one side and is absolutely reined in and buttoned up if it ever rears its head on the other.
Yeah. Yeah, and on I appreciate everything you said about his outfit, and obviously there are certain types of people that could get away with wearing that, and he's not even 100% getting away with it, but he's getting away with it 100 times more than if it was AOC, who, by the way, would rock a hoodie on the floor of Congress. Let's just be clear about that. But also, like, when I think about Fetterman's like what he wore, I am now so much less worried about the clothes he wears than the cosplay he did as a candidate of being some sort of progressive. That was an outfit that he put on, okay?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he has since taken that off. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?